Okay. All right. Okay. Well, why don't we do a quick check-in? Just kind of go around. Oh, there you are. Hello.
Hi. Wait, I just X'd out of, where am I? Oh, there we are.
Okay. Just like a quick check-in. How's it going? As it relates to the practices, how do you feel? Is the program feeling supportive, or is it just too much right now? You could be really honest. So, yeah, whoever wants to start is fine.
I missed last week just because it was just crazy with client calls and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's too much yet. I'm good today, so I
Right.
think
You're
I
here
don't know
today.
about you guys, Livia.
Now,
And
have you guys been in the portal?
no.
Okay. Has anyone been in the portal?
I've been in a little bit.
Okay.
I went like the first week, and then to be honest, I keep forgetting it's a thing.
Right.
I went after the last session because I really liked that body scan.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah. Yeah, because there's so much in there, and it's super easy. Actually, I'm going to share my screen with you and walk you guys through it, just so you could see. It's super easy to get in. And then if you know where to go to find everything, maybe you get yourself into a routine where you're there more frequently, because then you could always go back and you could listen into the lesson 3, right? Or you could just look up a body scan meditation or something else that's in there that would be super supportive. So give me a second here. Let me see if I could do this without overwhelming you guys with my messy clutter here. Okay. So if you just go to the website, and it's just studiobemindfulness.com, that'll pop right up. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then you just click in this login. So this is new, right? So you guys, when we first started, we didn't have the portal and the website together. So now it's here. So all you do is click on it. Now I already have my username and password in there. So if you've never set it up, just send me an email and we'll resend it to you, the login, to get you in there initially. Okay. And then you just log in, because you'll be prompted to change that password that we give you, right? So when you land here, the dashboard is here. And what everybody's seeing right now is resilience and steadiness training. And this is open to you guys. So if you go down here, you'll see that there's a course right now in the learning dashboard where every day at 2:00 there's an offering with a live offering with either me or Christine. So Christine is teaching Mondays and Wednesdays, and I'm teaching Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then on Fridays, we have a special guest. And actually, Mike Herthler will be our special guest this Friday. So we're
What time? 2
yeah,
o'clock?
at 2:00. So we're interviewing him because we have about 175 participants in here. Oh, there's Mary. Hi, Mary. So he'll be talking about how he's managing.
Hello.
Hi, Mary. We were just talking about your dad, actually.
Is he here?
Not yet. Not yet. So I wanted to walk everybody through the portal, so they get used to dropping in here. Because realistically, these Tuesday, as we're navigating this, working from home environment, it's not, it may not be the priority on your calendar, right? So if you have to drop in to watch the recording, I want everybody to get more comfortable with it. So for those of you that are maybe seeing this later, right, this is a good refresh. So the dashboard, Mary, is where what you'll see when you log in. So I'm just going to back out of this so we can walk you through it one more time, since you just jumped in. So so if we just get out of the portal and we're at the website, right? If you just go up to this key and press in login, it'll take you right to the portal now. Okay, so I'm already logged in, so that's why it dropped me in, but you would be prompted to use your username and password to sign in. Okay, and then once you get in there, you'll be taken to this page, the dashboard. And there's instruction in here right now for the resilience training. So that's what I was telling everyone else, is that this is the training that's happening every day at 2 o'clock. So every day at 2 o'clock, you guys could drop in with either me or Christine, and you don't have to do all the classes. I know that feels overwhelming. It's not meant to be done like that, although it could be, right? So we do build on the topics, but they're designed in a way that you could just drop in when you feel like you need the extra support, and here we are, right? To get into the live webinars, if you go to the learning dashboard and just scroll down, you could join the class or meeting. So like I just taught the afternoon class today. So tomorrow, right before the 2 o'clock time, this green button will come up and you could just click on it. It'll take you right through. So you don't need to have like the link or anything like that. Okay, you could just use the portal for it. And then if you go to your courses, so you guys will see all of our clients here because I have access to everybody. But what you would see in your coursework is you would see Jacoby signature training, right? And then you would see resilience and steadiness, which is all the recordings from that course. Movement practices. So if you drop in here, there's 6 movement practices right now loaded in here. So for instance, the chair yoga, right? If you just log into that, and like, you know, we're not used to working from home like this, like planting ourselves down for hours. And we're, you know, what I'm finding is that I move a lot during the day, but because I'm working from home, like I'll sit for 3-4 hours without getting up because the only way I'm communicating is through my computer. So this is a great practice for just sitting at your computer and getting a good stretch like in the afternoon, right? So just an example, like, so you could use these practices. If you go back to your coursework and you go into guided meditations, there's 9 guided meditations loaded in there for you guys right now. So depending on what you want, right? I thought there was I'll make sure that there's a body scan practice in here for you. There might be in your particular, this is the general box. So it's like more of a consolidated or condensed version, but I'll make sure that you have access to one. Because Olivia said that she really likes the body meditation. So you could just drop into these, right? And you could just do them whenever you need to. So if you're struggling with a formal practice right now, this is great. Just do the guided practices. Because you guys are, in a way, at a disadvantage, right? Because this course is meant to be done in person. And we're not supposed to be doing something like this when we're in the midst of a global pandemic. Right? So it doesn't surprise me at all that our numbers have dropped a bit. And it also doesn't surprise me at all if you've gone a couple weeks without meditating, or the last time you meditated was when we were together last. All right. So I don't want you to feel guilty or get hard on yourself if you're not able to keep up with this. We will figure this out. When things settle down and go back to normal, we could do all of this over again in person, right? Whatever it takes to kind of make you guys feel supported and get you more comfortable using these tools and reaching out to us if you really want to develop these practices, right? Remember, there's also a community feature. So we post in here, we could communicate in here. Now remember, my view in is with everybody, so I see everybody. You guys will only see your people from Jacoby, okay? So if you posted something in here, it wouldn't be broadcast to the whole Studio B community. You'd be in your own portal. All right. You can email us right from the inbox in here and we'll receive it. So we check these every day and we can get back to you. And then you also have access to the blog. And there's, you know, tons of great articles in here that are very relevant right now. So we've been writing a lot of content on experiences that we're having with the pandemic and challenges that we're having. Mariah is one of our teachers. She's living in New Jersey and she has COVID-19. So she's been very sick, but she did not have to be hospitalized, and she's on the other side of it now. So there's lots of, you know, there's lots of good information in here, right? Because right now, and I can only speak for myself, but certainly I'm noticing myself jump to worst case scenario, you know. I'm noticing that my emotions are all over the place. One moment I'll feel really grateful that I'm getting to spend more time with my husband. And the next moment, you know, even though he's working from home and being loud and obnoxious outside, as you may hear, and the next moment I might be very frustrated because he's being very loud and obnoxious outside. So the point is that there's no normal way to be right now, right? We're all doing the best we can. And we can experience both gratitude and suffering at the same time right now. So we could be really grateful because, you know, your breaks, you mentioned your breaks are nicer, you know, they're more relaxing. You could go upstairs and see your kids for 20 minutes or whatever, right? Yet you could still at the same time feel overwhelmed because you're not as productive as maybe you were a few weeks ago, right? So all these things are happening, and we're having this very, you know, what I talked about earlier to another class is that we're having a collective experience that we've never had before. In our lifetime, we have never experienced something like this on a global level. And it's very unsettling. It's like the rug has been completely pulled out from underneath us, and we're facing head on, you know, absolute uncertainty. So what do we do with this? You know, how do we find calm in that, right? And I do believe it's in these practices. They feel more important than ever. They feel like I'm giving them, I make a priority every day in my day to connect. And it's not always through, what I want to emphasize, it's not always through meditation. And so today's practice, today's talk on the theme of today is on the 4 elements and mindful eating. And I think they're very relevant right now. Is Mary smiling? Do you want to say something, Mary?
Mindful eating as in not eating your whole house.
Yeah. Right. Right. That's what I'm today. You know,
it's the only thing to look forward to in a day right now.
It is. It's, you know, I think that we're all eating more than we normally would eat, right? So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. However, we could turn that into a practice. We could transform that into an opportunity to be with this moment-to-moment experience, right? So if we go back to this definition of what mindfulness actually is, just defining mindfulness, it's moment-to-moment awareness. And can I be with what's happening right now, the truth of what's happening, in a kind and compassionate way, right? So instead of lashing, like imagining that we're lashing ourselves like with this inner critic, which I've caught myself doing quite a bit, reaching for that second homemade cookie because my kids are baking every day, right? Or, you know, just the fact that I'm sitting 5 feet away from my refrigerator and feeling overwhelmed and going back for, you know, these endless snacks or whatever it is. Or just sitting, you know, these opportunities, looking at it as an opportunity. I mean, my husband came home from the grocery store yesterday. We needed to get some fresh fruits and vegetables and things like that. And he came home, and of course we're disinfecting everything. So I disinfected all the packaging, got everything thrown out. And then I spent the next hour just washing fruits and vegetables and prepping carrots and celery and washing cauliflower, right? And what I noticed is that I was able to really enjoy that process, and it was really beautiful. So how can you drop into these moments, these opportunities where we're not rushed because we have so much extra time, right? And just truly be in that moment of, you know, shaving the carrots, of washing the food, of planning out your meals. So we could find these moments where if we really drop into the activity that's in front of us, the activity that we're doing, the stress kind of settles, right? The mind slows down, the body slows down, and we could find that space that we need in order to dive back into the work, right? Our work, whatever it is. So it's about giving yourself permission to just be human right now. All right, so let's do a practice. And then we're going to talk about, I think we'll start out with mindful eating first, and then we'll get into the elements, and we're doing it backwards, but that's okay. All right. So just so you know, I have a bag of chips next to me. So next to my, so
There's still some left in there.
What?
There's still some left in there. You're doing good.
Yeah, there's still some left. I'm not like a sweet person, but I will lick a box of like salt, you know, a salt block. I'll lick a salt block. So it's the best next thing is a bag of Cape Cod potato chips. All right. So I also I'm welcoming you into my practice space. So this is what my practice space looks like. I have like a little altar here with all of my special things on it. And this is just a corner of my bedroom, right? So I have some books and journals, and I have a little cushion with this is where I do my practices, and I have a yoga mat here. And I'm showing you this because my house is under construction. I think I mentioned that to you guys. And the renovation project is absolutely at a standstill, right? So my daughter, her bedroom, we had to move downstairs to the office space, where my practice space normally was. And so I've been in this corner in my bedroom for the last 3.5 months because of the construction project. But what I want to emphasize, and the reason I share that, is that we don't have to have this expansive space. What matters is that when we pick a location to just settle into, even when it's just like this little simple small corner in a bedroom, it becomes sacred. It becomes holy. And the more we return to it, sometimes all it takes for me is just to come up here and sit down on my cushion and get the work done, right? So as you can see, I've been just working in this space, both my meditation work and my actual work for Studio B all day, just because I came in here to do my meditation and then I just stayed, right? It just felt like it was a good place to land for the day. So I've been sitting on this cushion landing. So it doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be yogic, you know, anything you think. It could just be a cushion on the floor in a corner. All right. All right, so whether you're sitting on a chair or if you have a spot on the floor that you're sitting, just get comfortable and sit up nice and tall and relax your hands down. And you can close your eyes or just rest your gaze down. So that's up to you. And just settling in. I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes. So you'll hear the bells on the timer in just a moment. And just a reminder that those bells, these tones, are an invitation to drop in. And notice this sound is just dissolving. And gently bring your attention now into your body, just as it is. So just as you are. There's no need to change. There's no need to change your seat here. You could just acknowledge these sounds of life happening around us, whether there's sounds coming into view from my space or your space or the outside space. Just noticing. And inviting any distractions to be this backdrop for practice today. So you could imagine just placing it behind you. Notice your breath. Notice how the breath is coming in, how long it's staying, and how the breath is moving out. Notice your body. And notice any sensations inside right now. You might notice some discomfort. Some open space. Notice if you are feeling any rigid spaces inside. Also notice spaces of ease. And just welcoming it all. Inviting this experience of being. And as you turn this kindness inward, this invitation for anything that rises up, notice if those rigid spaces shift or change. And gently returning back to the anchor of the breath. Notice if the breath has shifted or changed at all. See if you can relax a little bit more into this rhythm of the breath. And just a few more breaths here. Just noticing if there's any discomfort coming up in this space that we've created. In these quiet spaces. Just gently resting your hand on your heart space. Feeling the support of the hand on the chest. And just reminding yourself that, yes, this can be included too. And these tones planting us right back into this present moment. You can relax the hand down, tip the chin. And just hang your heavy head down, stretching the back of the neck for a moment while the tones completely dissolve. And then open your eyes when you're ready. Returning back to this practice, to get this practice time together. So the phone fell into the chip bag in the beginning of the meditation. That was the sound. So it was like interesting for me as the teacher because I couldn't navigate our timing as I normally do. How did that 10 minutes feel?
I thought it felt good.
It was fast.
Yeah. Yeah, 10 minutes isn't as overwhelming as your mind wants it to be when you say 10 minutes, right? Because there's usually some initial resistance to that. Like, oh, I don't have 10 minutes. I have 5 minutes, but I don't have 10 minutes, right? But the more we practice, the more time we kind of need, right? It feels sometimes 3 minutes go by, 5 minutes go by, and there's this longing for a little more time there. So if that's starting to come up for you, give yourself more time. And it may not mean jumping to 10 minutes right away. It might mean jumping to 6 minutes or 7 minutes. You know, starting out slowly, because we want to be very careful so that we don't feel overwhelmed by the amount of time that's coming up. Okay?
Sorry. I'm laughing at your cat.
He's great. What's her name or his?
It's a boy. His name's Ralph, and halfway through, he came and he was like nudging up against me,
He's taking
trying
the
to
meditation very serious.
trying to focus. I'm like, this
Yeah. Pets love it when you meditate. They really do.
yeah,
Yeah,
he didn't like the gong at the end or the chime, but
Yeah. They like the energy that kind of comes out. You know, my dogs always get really chill and lay next to me. You know, typically I let them in the space when I meditate. So
Yeah.
pretty relaxing. And I feel like my kids too. And it's weird at first if you're, you know, I kind of keep the door open so that they could come and go. And they're funny because they sometimes run in and then they'll see me and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, and like slowly leave. But I'll also find them just sitting quietly and like imitating me, you know, and they're, especially when they were younger. So if you have younger kids, I don't think it's something you need to kind of hide from them or hide away from them. You know that your life is full of distractions. So if you have little kids, like that's just part of it, right? And you can work with that, and you can notice how it feels for somebody else to kind of come into your view and then leave. And we can notice like how the body responds. There's all kinds of tools for that. But mindfulness of the body is kind of being open to things that are happening inside. So when I asked you guys to kind of check in and see what was going on with your body, noticing any discomfort that was sitting there, did anyone notice discomfort in the body?
My shoulders are tight
Yeah, me too.
pack constantly. Like I'm constantly trying to like
Right. Did you notice that just by inviting it to be just like it was, it shifted?
I think my attention shifted, but I don't think like it's still tight.
Right, right. So what I'll sometimes find, and remember, this is a skill that you have to train up, right? But if you can really notice, especially when we're working with tension, if we could really kind of pinpoint, almost absorb into the space that we're noticing that's really calling out. So your shoulders, for instance. So, you know, if you have, and this is a really commonplace, especially for women for a lot of reasons, right? But especially women, and hold a lot of tension in the shoulders and neck, right? So if you could just relax as much as you can, and then imagine dropping right to the center of the experience, the discomfort or pain. So this is how we work with pain. And you may not be able to get to the center of it. You may say to me, you know what? I can't get to the center. It's too sharp, especially when you're dealing with an injury or pain, right? So I do this all the time with people that come to me with disc issues and really, you know, sharp nerve pain, right? They can't get right to the center of it, but they could start approaching it. So you could imagine tracking inside your body and almost like circling an outline to where the pain begins. And imagine just like approaching that tender area and see how close you could get. And what might happen is you might get really close and your body might start being like, no, I can't get any closer. And then you just back off a little bit, right? But as close as you can get, or if you could get to the center, and typically you can if it's just discomfort. And that's how you know the difference between pain and discomfort, right? Pain will be sharp, fiery. It could travel, it could feel electrical. So if you describe it that way, you're really experiencing pain. Discomfort, however, is usually tension, right? We're holding stress, we're holding emotions, and it could cause massive discomfort in the body. But typically we could drop into that discomfort. And if you could imagine dropping to the center of it, and then imagine the breath dropping into that space, usually what starts out like this could end up kind of like this. It could just open it, right? And then the more and more we come to that adhesion, which is kind of responsible for building the buildup of tissues, which causes the knots, right? And then those knots develop and the muscles around that area, that site, will really freeze up because they're trying to protect you. The body's always trying to protect you, right? So if we could relax the space around the site and get to the site and drop in and just create a little bit of space there, usually it could start dissolving. But what happens as soon as we feel tension come up or discomfort come up, we tend to get really rigid with it. So we have an automatic response that we could start kind of getting in the middle of. It's like breaking up a fight between kids, right? There's this tension happening and we're just dropping to the center and breaking it up. The body will start really responding in these passive practices just by bringing your attention there, just by dropping your breath there, just by staying with it and letting it be part of you right now. So we don't want to push it down. We don't want to push it away. We don't want to shut it up, right? The body needs to have this invitation to communicate. And that's part of working with the body. And sometimes, not all the time, but I have a lot of trouble with my neck and I get holds a lot of tension in my shoulders and my neck will go out and it's pretty intense like sensation, right? So as soon as I feel that coming on, I lay down on a hard floor, like on a yoga mat, and I just breathe. And I imagine going to the site, breathing into it, creating space there, loosening up some of that rigid sensation. And 9 times out of 10, it doesn't go into like spasms. It won't go into that whole area kind of locking up on me. But you have to do it right at the beginning. So like even after today's class, what I would suggest for you is lay down on your yoga mat, take 10 minutes and just breathe. Just breathe. Go right to the site and breathe into it, and it'll loosen up. And sometimes I would say 5 out of 10 times, if I just sit up and do a meditation and I go into the body meditation and just work with my experience by welcoming it in. So we want to welcome it in and be really kind. So yes, tension could be here, right? It has a place within me. The body needs my attention. I'm going to attend to it and move breath there. It'll start kind of loosening up. So much so that sometimes I'll even have like my spine, almost like a chiropractic adjustment just from breathing, right? It'll just readjust, kind of fall into place. But it's just, you have the ability, each of us have it. All of you have this inside of you to relax the system. It's just, all I'm teaching you is to trust what you already know. I promise you that. Okay? And it just takes some practice. It takes some building up of confidence and trust, right? But we've got to keep breathing. We have to learn how to kind of self-soothe, right? It's just like teaching a child. How many of you are mothers?
Me.
Yeah. Or pet mothers, right? When we're leaving our dogs, or cats for that matter. But, we
I have nothing.
right. You have parents.
Right, but I don't have any cats or dogs or children or plants.
That's okay. So you have yourself to work with, this inner landscape.
There's a lot to work with there.
Right. You have it within you, Mary. You do. You do. And it's trusting that. And so practices like what we're doing, and I'm trying to get into the topic today, which is mindful eating. Mindful eating, just so you guys know, we typically we bring in an orange or a tangerine, marshmallow, and a piece of dark chocolate, right? So we're definitely going to do this when we're all together, okay? Because it's really fun to do together. But let me just lead you through, and then we're going to kind of table that for later so that we could do it in person and talk about how the elements could be supportive right now. But with your next meal, I'd like you to just give this a try, okay? So with your next meal, before you eat your food, as you're putting your plate together, just take a moment to think about where the food came from, where it grew, or where the food was raised if you're eating meat. All the people that were participated in the process of getting that meal to your table. And this is especially relevant right now because these are the people that are keeping our country moving, right? These are the people, these essential workers that are literally, quite literally risking their lives in order to deliver this food to the grocery stores, to make sure that it's stocked up, to check out your food as you're paying for it. We could think of all of these people and just with a sense of gratitude, right? Wow, there's so many people. I often think about our farmer because we belong to a community supported agriculture, a CSA. Have you guys ever heard of that term before? Yeah. So there's a great CSA near us. It's called Dancing Hen Farm. And this is our 12th season buying into the CSA. So the first season we bought into the CSA, I had just had Tessa, our youngest. So that's how I keep track of it. But Farmer Don and his wife Joan, they have a farm. It's just outside of Benton, so not far from where we are. And they grow fresh, organic fruits and vegetables, local organic. And so we've become very good friends over the years and have been highly involved with, helping out on the farm by planting seeds, by going and picking weeds, by helping him pick plants, to just, being involved with raising community awareness about his mission, which is organic farming, and taking care of the nutrient dense soil and making sure that the vegetables that he grows are rich in nutrients. So I often think of him. So I would encourage you, each of you, to get to know, the people. Like if you go to, for instance, if you go down to the farmer's market on Thursdays, I don't know if, or on Saturdays, if you participate in any kind of local growers, get to know their names, and really look at them and think about the work that they do to get the food in front of you and on your plate. So just taking that moment, it really cultivates this sense of compassion towards other, which is part of this practice. Remember, when we're developing awareness, mindfulness is just one piece. The heart practices are the second wing. So compassion for self, compassion for others, loving kindness, equanimity, and sympathetic joy are all of the practices that we're trying to cultivate in developing awareness, present moment awareness. So just pausing to consider how the food got to your plate is so important and so lovely, and such a nice way, such a wonderful lesson if you do have kids in your lives, just to get them thinking about gratitude. Then once you get your plate, take your plate to a quiet space. So how many of you eat in front of the television? And it's okay, I do it sometimes. Yeah. Or in front of our computers, right? I feel like sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't watch TV, yet I'll go onto Hulu and go onto my live feed and I'll be watching the news on my computer. So that's the same thing, right? What I want to encourage you to try is just shutting everything off. No noise, no music, no noise, right? Just taking your meal in without that distraction and just really slowing things down. So that's part of it. So when we do this exercise in person, what we'll do is we'll take a few minutes, like 2 to 3 minutes, and just look at your food. Notice the colors, notice the textures, notice, I especially like to look at kale. So if you guys eat kale and you have to rub it with the oil, and it kind of glistens and brings out this richness of color in the leaves, right? Just noticing things like that, noticing the seasonings in your food, just looking at your plate and the fullness of your plate, right? So just working with the senses. So looking and then focusing on smell. Notice the smell of the food. Notice the layers of smell. Just even, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by this or, stretch it out too much on your own. So maybe just taking a few seconds to do that. So really smell it. And then notice how your body responds to the smell of your food. Because 9 times out of 10, you'll start kind of salivating. You'll get hungrier for the food in front of you. And we rush through our meals so much that we don't even notice these natural processes. That's actually preparing for digestion when the saliva starts building in your mouth. And it's a healthy part of eating and taking in food, right? So we do want to take a moment to just smell the food because it'll help with digestion. It'll aid in that process. Then, of course, tasting. So bringing the food to your mouth, tasting the food, noticing the texture, noticing how it feels in your mouth, your teeth, your tongue, slowing that down and really kind of chewing the food up. Okay? Then swallowing, notice what that feels like. Notice what the food feels like in your stomach once you swallow, and then pausing before you keep eating. So it's like slowing down the whole process. And what's really incredible is that when you slow that process down, is you typically will get full much quicker than you normally do when we're not paying attention. So when we're not paying attention to mindful eating, we'll typically just kind of like me today, you know, I had a bowl of yogurt with granola and fruit, and it was lovely and it was delicious. And I normally would just, that would be enough for me for the morning. And, you know, I was stressed out, filling out forms, doing all these, you know, things for loans and this and that. And the next minute I found myself eating a leftover bowl of kale salad with Brussels sprouts from last night for dinner. And, you know, a whole bowl of that, and then lunched into the chips. And, you know, it's just been this day where I've just been like snacking and like, just because it's comforting. But you know what? That could be okay sometimes too. It can be, right? But know why you're doing it. Wow, there's stresses here, and I'm not paying attention, and I'm taking comfort in food. And you know what? That's okay right now. But it's not okay if we do it every day, right? So also paying close attention, but giving yourself some freedom just to be human, just to be a human being, and have days where it may not go perfectly. But getting to know your body and how it's processing food is so important for a healthy kind of ground, right? Because when we know that when we're making unhealthy food choices, we just don't feel ourselves, like we don't feel as good as we could, right? So just noticing the difference. And when we do have days like I had today where I'm just kind of eating everything in sight, noticing how you feel because of that, right? Because then when you notice, you're likely not going to do it again, right? At least not tomorrow. I'm not going to eat like this tomorrow. Okay, so it's a challenge for you. So if you could just do that once this week, I'd like you to give that a try. Consider it a practice. Okay? Just going to check our time. Wow, we're running out of time. Okay, so the 4 elements, we're going to have to spend more time with the 4 elements discussion, but I just want to name them. And I'd like you to make the second kind of, not mandatory, but suggested practice outside of your formal or informal or micro practices is I'd like you to really open to the elements. So take a walk outside and see if you can connect to all 4 of the elements outside. So water, fire, earth, and air are the elements that we work with Chinese medicine. So earth, water, fire, and air. So earth and air kind of balance each other out, and fire and water balance each other out. Okay? So on your walk, and again, if you have kids in your life, this is a great and really fun. As a matter of fact, I noticed that my daughter, with one of her lessons last week, had to go outside and take pictures of spring, you know, evidence of spring. And I love that for science class. And I thought, oh, this is really great that they're doing this, because there's so much hope out there in noticing the flowers blooming and the shoots coming out of the earth and all the green surrounding us. It really is hopeful. It's the promise of spring. And we know that it's this reminder of impermanence. We could trust it. Everything will change. And this too, this very challenging time, will change. And it'll just at some point be a moment in time that we remember and reflect on and learn from and grow with, right? And also we can acknowledge that it was very hard, but it is a moment in time. So just getting outside and connecting to the elements is very grounding. And what we know from the practices is that we could then find these elements and cultivate these elements within our own system. Okay, so we're going to do a practice on the elements before we go today. We're just going to do 3 minutes because we have 3 minutes left. All right? It might be 5 minutes. Let's see. You guys okay with 5 minutes? Yeah?
Yes.
Let's give us more time. All right, so sit up nice and tall. And again, finding the elements inside is a little easier once we connect to them on the outside. So sit up nice and tall and close your eyes. The bells will chime in just a moment. And just landing your attention inside. Noticing your seat. Noticing your breath. The earth element in the body is connected with your bones. So right now, just feel into these deep yin tissues. You might want to start with your hips, your pelvis, your femurs, noticing your knees and shin bones, noticing your spine and arms and skull. This earth element deep inside each of us. Now gently turn your attention towards the element of air, your breath moving through you. And notice how it balances out that heaviness of the earth inside. And you could imagine them mingling together, both elements of earth and air, in this sacred dance. How do I stay grounded and light? Now bringing to mind the element of fire. The element of fire found in the courage of the heart, in the wisdom of the gut. Knowing that this element of fire can propel us forward in strong ways. It's the element of the warrior archetype. This is the element that gets things done. And now noticing this element of water, perhaps even swallowing down into the belly. Acknowledging that 70% of our bodies are made up of this element of water, cooling the system. Balancing out this element of fire, clearing away the clutter of the mind, washing us clean. Notice how those elements mingle inside and bring us into this space of equanimity. Earth, air, fire, and water. The bell's bringing us back to this day. And opening your eyes when you're ready. How was that for you guys?
I don't know if I was supposed to, but I was moving around a lot because it made me feel better. When you were talking about water, I like kind of was envisioning water going through me. And the last practice, I felt very stiff, just kind of being like a statue, and I was getting a little uncomfortable. So this time, like the breathing and just, I don't know if that's allowed, but I was moving and grooving this time.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely, totally allowed and encouraged, because especially when we're working with the element of water, yeah, that's really natural. And so it actually makes me feel like you were really feeling connected to that practice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very good. Now, can you see why just taking a walk outside and kind of waking up the awareness to the elements could really transform that practice? So some of the most transformative practices that I've had, that I've experienced, were in, sitting at the ocean, just feeling the wind, the air element, listening to the water, feeling the heat of the sun, sitting in the soil, sitting in the sand, right? So we can practice outside, and it's getting warmer now, and we could connect to all those elements, especially if you live near water, of course. But even if you have, a pool or like a fountain or something like that to connect to, or just imagining a waterfall, right? It's very grounding for the system. And we know that our systems really need that connection with nature. So it's a way to cultivate that if we don't have access to it, especially if we're, indoors or limited. I keep thinking about people in New York City that can't get out of their apartments, and hoping that they have access to teachings like this. So I don't want to hold you guys up. We're at the end of our time. Two things. Remember that you have access to the resilience training, so you could jump in there at any time. Like I said, Mike is your dad, Mary's on the resilience training on Friday. We're interviewing him for that. So we're really excited about it. We'd love to have you guys participate. And then secondly, we have a 30-minute live practice every Thursday at 4:30. So this week will be the first week. Sarah will be sending out the reminder on Thursday, and it'll just be me checking in, and we'll do 2 practices back to back. I think this week we'll do a pranayama practice, a breathing practice, and a meditation. So definitely jump into that. It won't be longer than 30 minutes. It'll probably be in the 20 to 25-minute range with a few minutes for questions. Okay? I hope to see you guys there. And if I don't see you there, I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank
Thanks,
you.
bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.